better known as Lads Like Us. I'm sure many of you will have read the interview with Mike and Danny in your programme book. If you haven't had a chance to yet, I recommend that you do. I've been chatting to them, lovely lads. Lads Like Us is a Manchester-based non-profit organisation with a mission dedicated to educating the professionals and organisations that failed them as children and as adults, I think they're going to tell us. Danny and Mike created a trauma-informed training package to support better practice, to help to identify behaviours displayed by service users to help to identify behaviours displayed by service users are a direct result of some kind of trauma experience through their eyes. Their work has taken them across the length and breadth of the UK to improve the system that let them down. And we're very lucky that they're stopping to give us their time today. Please, help me welcome to the stage, it's Lads Like Us.
For a full house. I'll let you start.
Right, just before we start, we're going to try and cram as much as we can into a short space of time, so we've got 30 minutes. I talk fast anyway, but I'm going to be talking even faster today to get our key messages across, because it's so important with all you lot in this room that you get to hear from our side of the charge desk. Do you know what I mean? So we're not professionals like you lot or whoever's in here, we're from the other side of the desk. Do you know what I mean? And we're fortunate enough that we've somebody give us permission to speak, and that's all we needed. And I'll go into that in a bit.
Instead of a comment.
So just before I start off, I'm going to do because we're going to try and fit a bit of lived experience stuff in as well. So just want to do like a little trauma warning, a little trigger warning for you as well, because you might find some stuff upsetting, like might trigger. We do run a peer support group on the back of that, which is part of our restorative justice. Which is strictly for professionals who've experienced trauma or vicarious trauma. So you can get our details off us all. We should have put them on the screen really, but we're not that organised, so it's not. But yeah, we'll get that stuff over to you. Our big thing is about trauma. I'm not going to bore you with all the stuff how we met and all that stuff. I'm just going to go straight into it.
Let's just say it was bromantic. That's all that matters. It was bromantic and it started with a kebab.
So, our big things about trauma-informed practice and professional curiosity, words that we didn't even know existed because we don't speak that language. You know what I mean? But we've had to learn the language you speak. We've been going on about this stuff for years, right? But sadly, we've had to wait for some clever person in London to come up with and coin the phrase trauma-informed. Then, like, when it's sexy amongst you lot, then we're all right to talk about it. Because when we was talking about it before, we was just getting doors slammed in our face, basically, because the subject was unpalatable.
And because we were banging on doors and looking like crazy people, to be honest.
Yeah, we had to change our approach, basically. You know, you lot aren't the ones that have failed us, do you know what I mean? And we had to get that into our heads, because that's the reality of the situation. We was carrying a lot of pain with us, and everybody was coping for it, because we were stuck in victim mode, and everything was everybody else's fault apart from ours, until someone showed us the way, basically. Yeah, so trauma-informed practice, what we believe is, I'm going to try my best not to swear because I'm naturally swear, it's my natural language.
Don't tell him it's alright. Honestly, you can all put £1 in for every time he swears and you'll pay for the Christmas drinks.
So, you know, you hear all this stuff about trauma-informed practice and these clever academics come up with all these slides and all this training and stuff like that, but you know, all that has a place, but the thing is, once you've walked out of that training, what do you really remember when you've been into somewhere but it's death by PowerPoint? Do you know what I mean? I think lived experience is so important, because I don't want you to think about what I'm going to say today. I want you to feel what I've said. I want you to take it away. I want it to inform your practice. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm going to share a bit of my lived experience. So trauma-informed practice, from our side of the desk, is the shit that you learn at primary school, age 5. It ain't rocket science. Do you know what I mean? It's about being nice to someone, it's about being kind to someone, it's about treating somebody like a human being. It's all that stuff that you learn at 5, and it's about putting it into practice. I mean, why people come up with all this dead clever stuff and try and complicate it, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm saying to you is like, we get a lot, God, I sound like I'm clever bashing here because I'm not clever myself, but like, you know, what we kind of find is like, I don't know how to explain it to you best. I don't know, it's like people have forgot to be a flipping human being. They learn all this stuff from college and universities and all these places, but when it comes into practice, they're thinking, how come I'm not getting results with this person? And it's because you're being an effing robot with them. You know what I mean? You're just spewing stuff that you learn. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, where's the human side? You've got to put both them things together. And when we put both them things together, you get results. It's like, we went way up north, flipping, delivering some training at this complex needs hostel, and you know, they've called us in, we've gone in and had a chat with them and stuff, and they're like, Danny, I can't understand why we've got this revolving door and people keep turning up all the time. You know what I mean? It's same people, same faces, and I'm like, give us your comprehensive assessment, let's have a look at that. Looks in it, and it's got questions like flipping, you know, what's your sexuality? Have you been a sex worker? You know, all these all these deep personal questions, and like, there's nothing on there about trauma. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you do not deal with people's trauma, you know what I mean? These people are going to keep presenting. You can firefight and do all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? But we're not going to change anything. Oh God, we can't ask that. I'm going to have to speak to my boss. And it's like, what planet are you on? We didn't get invited back there. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, it's like, this stuff ain't rocket science, what we're talking about. We've got this big thing about asking why, about professional curiosity, because that's what saved our lives. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to try and share a bit with you today. So what I'm going to do is like go into my lived experience a little bit with what time we've got. As I'm talking about my lived experience, I'm not just going to go, oh, here I've caught for this horror story. It's not about that. What it's about is, it's about me reflecting on what was going on affecting my behaviour and affecting my decision making. I didn't wake up one morning and think, oh right, I'm going to be a car thieving drug dealer one day. Do you know what I mean? I didn't wake up like that. Do you know what I mean? It was a process of things that happened. Yeah, I have to take full responsibility for my actions as an adult because I knew full well what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? But it's the stuff before that led up to which I don't take no responsibility for because I was a kid. Well, that shaped and moulded me. And we was talking before, and a contributing factor to how I turned out was how I was conditioned at school by teachers and people like that, saying you're thick, you're stupid, you know, you're going to end up this, you're going to end up that. You know what I mean? And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy what happened. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll just blast into my lived experience quick before we hand over to Mike. And what I'll do is I'll try and reflect the best I can on me, like sort of mental health and my behaviour, how it affected me at the time. So, like, my mum had me when she was 15 and my dad was 15. They both lived next door to each other. My mum was in a care home. Thought it was a good idea to have a baby. She wasn't equipped to deal with me. She had mental health problems, drug problems, and couldn't look after me properly, basically. And my auntie used to come round at weekends and get me up and take me out and do stuff what mums are supposed to do, take me to the park and all that kind of stuff. She'd come round this one time. It's a Saturday. She's come round. There's a note on the fireplace on the Wednesday saying that she got off, basically, a note from my mum. And my auntie's thought, shit, where's Daniel? So she's looked round the house downstairs, couldn't find me. She found me in the cot upstairs. She said the nappy rash was that bad, we couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. I've got kids now, my tackle's alright, so don't panic. Don't worry about that one.
Of all the reasons you put that one in.
No, it's true, Mike.
I don't care.
But, so, gone into hospital. Fortunate for me, my mum's not come back to claim me, basically, she disappeared. My dad was in the army, he was gone, and I went into care for a while, and my grandparents got kind of like joint guardianship type thing with me. Now, if we think about the training you've been on before, like ACEs and flipping attachment theory and all that kind of fancy stuff, that's where my issues started off. You know what I mean? Because flipping, even though I was young, I was 18 months old, I'd have known my mum wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? And that trauma affected me for the rest of my life in a sense, and I didn't know it, I didn't understand it. I've got two sides to my family, basically. My dad's side's scruffy, my mum's side's posh, right? So I'd be scruffy, stinking a piss, Monday to Friday, then I'd be posh at weekends, do you know what I mean? And that's how it was, but because my dad wasn't about, like, my granddad took it upon himself to like sort of show me how to clean myself and stuff like that. That, without going into graphic detail, because that's just weird, you know what I mean? What he was doing, he was sexually abusing me and doing all kinds to me for a number of years. But let's look at that, how that impacted me at school. So I was that kid who was bouncing pea pumps off people's heads and throwing chairs at teachers because I didn't know how to express what was going on. So my behaviour spoke 1,000 words, do you know what I mean? But what they did at school is they just labelled me a little shit, basically, do you know what I mean? So, you know, I'd like run out of school and flipping, you know, get on my bike and just pedal and pedal and pedal and pedal. Then I get picked up off the police or whoever, and they bring me back to my granddad's because he was posh and sort of well-to-do and looked all right on paper and a pillar of society. In reality, I wasn't safe there. I was better off stinking a piss, do you know what I mean? But loved, if you know what I mean. So by the time I've come to the end of like sort of primary schools, I've been to like 9 different primary schools. Because of my behaviour and because people couldn't cope with me, you have him for a bit, you have him for a bit, you have him for a bit. And because nobody ever sat me down and said, Daniel, what is up with you? I internalised all that stuff. It's my fault my granddad did this. It's my fault my dad got off. My fault my mum got off. You know, started building all this, like turning it all in on myself. But what I started doing is, I started building up bricks around me and putting up a wall. But I kind of hate the term like sort of hard to reach, because I don't think, as we've seen today from people winning awards, I don't think people are hard to reach. It just takes the right kind of person, you know, flipping, to say the right things and just behave in a certain way, and that's what they call a trauma-informed approach. Like what these ladies did, that they give a beautiful example of a trauma-informed approach, and look at the results, what come from that. This shit ain't rocket science. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, it's the stuff that we learn at school at age flipping 5. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why it isn't common practice, and I don't know why I'm here flipping having to talk about it, because it seems so simple to us. Do you know what I mean? So as I'm building up this wall, because I'm thinking everything's my fault, my head's like a washing machine on a spin cycle, because I don't have the words to talk about what's going on, because I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? And what I learned to do is, because no one asked them questions, I learned to put masks on. And the first mask I learned to put on was happy-go-lucky, pretend everything's okay, don't let anybody see into you. Do you know what I mean? Because by the time I got to 10, and I was going through puberty, it's like the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment of everything what was happening. And you know, I'd stayed at other people's house and I hadn't been abused there, and they wasn't getting abused, and I thought, I don't think this happens in everybody's house. Do you know what I mean? So basically, I locked myself in the bathroom one time, and my granddad came up the stairs, tried the door, and he knew and I knew what he was doing was wrong, and it stopped. But the damage had been done. Do you know what I mean? So when I've gone into secondary school, it was like, I'm like, what does it mean to be a man? So I've looked around our estate and like, right, he sells drugs, he's violent, you know, he does this, he does that. Ah, right, that's what it means. Because I didn't have no sense of identity, because I didn't have like parents who give a shit, do you know what I mean? And I didn't really know where I come from, type thing. So, you know, I created this person who flipping wasn't, you know, and that was like kind of a, I don't know, it was a real kind of like sort of difficult time, really. And flipping, you know, going into secondary school when there was like, you know, you do exams to get into different sets and stuff like that. This is why I hate the set system. I don't think people should be put in sets, because I don't think it's fair, to be honest with you. Well, that's another story. But they put me in set 4 and 5 because they thought I was thick. I wasn't thick. I just hadn't had the right education because I moved about everywhere. I still don't know my times tables and all that stuff, but, oh, you never have a calculator in your pocket all the time. Well, I flipping have now, aren't I? On my phone. So they was wrong about that, but I'm sorry for never saying that. So what happened is, I'll tell you about this, because I've had a few experiences with the criminal justice system along the way, and people from that system. The headmaster come into school and he's like, got 10 of us together, and he's like, you lot are the most likely to be dead or in jail by the time you're 18. I was like, thanks for that, mate. And I said, I'm getting the police in to come and speak to you. He's got this copper in. This copper's come in, he's sat us down.
Can't say copper in this room.
I'm just speaking, I would speak, Mike, I'm not bothered. So what's it, this copper's come in, because it was a copper mic. And he's sat us down and he's put a video on about car crime. and he's put it on, he's like, God, this is really dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, this looks effing great. I want to be a car thief. Do you know what I mean? Then he's pulled out a briefcase, and he's opened it up, and it's got loads of different drugs in it. It's like, this does this does that, that does that. You won't know what you're doing, you won't remember, you forget. I thought, this sounds mint. You know what I mean? And because of everything what was going on in my head, this cop is giving me a solution to shut my head up. Do you know what I mean? Mike said it was an information booklet. I thought it was a brochure. So he's giving me this thing, and it's like it's got all the different drugs in and all that, and I thought, right, I'll work my way, I didn't used to do homework, but I thought I'll work my way through this brochure and take each drug as I go, basically. Now, I didn't have money or access to drugs at that time, so I put this brochure under my bed. As time's gone on in school, my behaviour's like proper going off key. You know, and I'm putting all these different masks on. The thing is, what's behind me is a cupboard that's banging like this with all my trauma in, and I'm trying my best to keep it quiet by acting a certain way. I was the type of kid that'd be like, Danny, do this, Danny, do this, do that. I'd do it because I wanted to be liked, I wanted to be loved, I wanted to fit in, I wanted a sense of belonging, all those things, because my basic needs wasn't being met at home. And if I take you back to the beginning, with all the aces and the trauma and the attachment theory and all that kind of stuff, do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, that's the thing that effed me up in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and it's followed me through my life, and because nobody sat me down and said, Daniel, what is up with you? You know, how was things when you was growing up, how were things at home? Like I said, I internalised it all, and things just got worse. So, like, I'm just at work, I've got 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That to Danny means another half an hour. So.
No, what's it? Because that lady will go mad with the clipboard. So as I've got to this is where the trouble started really. So as I've got to 15, flipping, you know, I might not appear to be vulnerable by my actions and how I'm behaving and how I'm carrying on thinking I'm bad. Do you know what I mean? So for the outside looking in, like I say, people thought it was a little shit. You know what I mean? But I just needed a bit of TLC and someone kind of showing me the right way or asking the right questions. I was left to my own devices, so you know it's no wonder I kind of turned out the way I was like sort of going and that. And gets to 15, I had this girl in my class called Shelley. She was my best friend. Now she had a boyfriend who was 10 years older than her. I used to come and pick her up in his car and all that. He didn't like our friendship and wasn't happy about it. So my mates come to me and say, hey, guys are going to stab you after school. Right, believe it or not, I've got a B in PE, that is our claim to fame, with a B, GCSE in PE. Right, and I thought, I am rapid, he ain't catching me anyway, mate. You know what I mean? So I've come out of school and his mates pull up and he screeched up at the side. He's like, Danny, quick, get in. He's going to stab you. Rah, rah, rah. So I gets in the car with him, he takes me home, he picks me up, he takes me home. Turns out this guy's a local drug dealer from our area. It's like, I know your dad's not about and all that, I'll look after you. Now there was 10 of my mates who were selling drugs for him as well. So before you know it, I'm selling drugs for him in school. The guy's being nice to me, he's buying me things, trainers, what is now known as like county lines, because you know, it was being a little shit back in the day, but thankfully now it's classed as county lines and exploitation. Do you know what I mean? So thank you for coming up with that word as well. Do you know what I mean? Isn't it bad that we have to wait for things to get sexy before we get any help with anything? It's sad, isn't it, really? Joking aside. But, yeah, so, you know, this guy's probably took me under his wing, but what that meant was I could say and do what I wanted because he was protecting me, so I could probably give it out. Do you know what I mean? So I love that. You know what I mean? Because I felt safe. As time's gone on, he's selling heroin, he's selling crack, selling temazepam. To cut a long story short, you know, he stopped paying me in flipping things and started paying me in drugs. So by the time I was 16 and left school, I got habit on heroin and crack, and I'm running about for him and all that, me and other lads. Then he starts spiking us, thinking it's funny, putting temazes in our drinks, and he carried upstairs. To cut a long story short, because we've not got much time, he was sexually abusing and raping us when we was out cold. Now, that went on till I was 21, you know what I mean? So that was a real difficult thing to talk about, do you know what I mean? Because I thought I was a man then, do you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm running about pretending I'm bad and all that, and all this stuff's going on, and he's doing it to me, and he's doing it to my friends and stuff. When I was 21, how I got away from him is I got locked up on drugs-related offences and went to prison. That was a fuck off to the school because he said he'd be dead or in jail by 18 till I was 21. As well, wasn't it? But the thing is, it was, what's it, you know, I didn't appear to be vulnerable. So maybe that made it harder for people to engage with me. Do you know what I mean? I'll just finish on this quickly, Mike, sorry. So what happened from that point, so, you know, I was kind of exploited up until that point, but then when I come out of prison, I knew what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? So if you think about someone who's, I know this is a bad comparison, but if you think about someone's in a domestic violence relationship and you think, why did you keep going back to this person doing this, that, the other? I never got sexually abused or raped after that, but that was like me with drug dealers because I was dead useful, because I'd be the dickhead who run through someone's door, take this, do that. You know what I mean? Going back to that sense of belonging, but also I knew what I was doing, so I have to take responsibility for that behaviour as well. That went on for many years, and I was on that cycle of prison, probation, rehab, detox, mental health units, doctors, round and round and round and round. I fucking went on that revolving door until I met someone who was when I was 33, and he was the first person, just, you know, that was just after like another flipping like sort of suicide attempts and stuff. He was the guy who sat me down. There was something about this guy. He was dead kind, and he like, you know, he'd treat me like a human being and stuff like that. You know, I've not got time to tell this full story. It is a proper funny story, but I've not got time, so I'll get in trouble. But basically, this guy who was a drug worker sat me down, and he was like, "Danny, what's up with you?" He went, "How was things when you was growing up? Where was your mum? Where was your dad? Oh, you used to stay at your granddad's. Did you like it there? What about when he was a teenager?" He started asking these questions, and he told me a little tiny bit about himself because he had lived experience, and it was like, I'm going to swear here, and when he told me that, I was like, thank fuck for that, because he gave me permission to speak. He put his foot in the fucking revolving door, yanked me out by my hood, you know what I mean, and saved my life. You know what I mean? And that is all it takes sometimes. Yeah, this guy was trained to be a psychotherapist. He was dead clever. But what he did is he used his lived experience of being a human being with me, and guess what? I connected with him, I opened up to him. Why did it take for me to be 18 months old to 33 for some fucker to ask that question? This is why we've got this big thing about professional curiosity and trauma-informed practice. Plus, if you don't give a shit about people and you only ask about money, we can save you a fortune. You know what I mean? It's the truth. Because I have customers who've been fortunate over the years. You know what I mean? It's rather come from a good place with good intentions, but if it's not, I don't give a shit if it saves people's lives. You know what I mean? Honest to God, I could talk to you all day, as you can see. You know what I mean? But I'll hand over to Mike here and shut up.
He's given me 3 minutes to speak. do you know what's funny though? He does this every single time. It doesn't matter where we go, he does it every single time. Yeah, it's really important, but so's my side. You know what I mean?
The lights turned off now, I've had it.
Oh, you're all mine. Do you know what? Firstly, I'm humbled. This was meant to be at the beginning, but you know, Gobby Bollocks decides to. But yeah, humbled. You know, to be in a room such amazing people. Lived experiences in the room, which I love. I love the fact that we've got people with lived experience up in this room, because you know what, we deserve our place in this room, and I say that with great pride, because you know what, it's difficult to come from where, you know, irrespective of what your journey's been, where you've come from. You know, I was labelled, I was a little shit, damn straight I was, because the teachers ignored me, they didn't care, they didn't pay any attention, so neither did I in geography. I honestly didn't. I fucking hated my geography teacher. Thank you to the Awards for inviting us. Keith Fraser, I'm going to single you out here, babe. I just want to say thank you to you. Keith Fraser is the chair of the Youth Justice Board, and he stalked us for a bit. I'm joking. No, he approached us when we was at an event, and he has been our biggest mentor. Not only that, he's turned into a dear friend, and I just wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for us, because you know what, like, to have someone like you backing us, it restores our faith in the system, because I hated justice. Anything to do with justice I hated, because I didn't get mine. I wanted a slice of that pie. I wanted justice. I was raped, I was abused, I was locked in a cupboard, I was beaten. I'm not going to talk about all that because it's not who I am today, but that's who I was then. So, going to do something a little bit different now. I want everyone to stand up. Now who's in charge? Right, okay, so today I stand before you as me. Not as a statistic, not as a victim, not as a survivor, just as me, Mike. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, after I say each of these phrases, I don't even know what they are, it's a sentence or whatever. I whacked English as well. I want you to all say why. Can everyone say why?
Why?
Thank you, that's good enough for me. So, at school I was labelled a naughty kid.
Why?
A bit louder.
Why?
Thank you. I was removed from mainstream school and put into a residential school full of other naughty kids.
Why?
I left school with no GCSEs.
Why?
Good fucking question, I wagged. I was angry, I was scared, and I was alone.
Why?
I was criminally exploited into selling drugs.
Why?
And over the years, my mental health deteriorated, and after numerous suicide attempts and breakdowns, somebody asked me one simple question. What do you think that question was?
Why?
It's gone pretty sharp, you lot. Right. So, what you've just done there is the most simplest of things that could have been done when we was kids. Because you've just stood up for me. When I'm talking about me, I'm talking about him. I'm not just talking about me and him. I'm talking about all the other kids that didn't have that simple question asked. You can sit down now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to explain why. Because you asked me why. So, I was subject to sexual abuse and rape at the age of 12. Locked in a cupboard, beaten. I disclosed to school. Sorry, clipboard lady, it's going to go over a couple of minutes. Don't kill me. Now, I disclosed to school what was going on. They sent me home with my abuser. No social worker came to school. They sent me home with my abuser. And then the social worker came, by which time he'd intercepted me and told me that if I told them what was going on, he was going to slit my mum's throat and kill him. Yeah, 12 years old. What do you do with that, 12 years old? He's already beat the shit out of me, locked me in cupboards and done all this. What could I do? Told the social worker I lied. She couldn't have got out of the house quick enough. Now, my behaviours at school were a direct result of the trauma that I suffered. Not, I went from being whatever a normal kid is, to being a kid that was disruptive. Not bouncing PE pumps off people's heads, but, throwing chairs at teachers, which was a bit more advanced than pumps. School failed to protect me in the way that they should have done. The way that, I know safeguarding has changed, but even back then policies were different. I should have been protected, I wasn't. Now, due to the fact I was kicked out of my mainstream school, they sent me to a boarding school, not posh, no caviar, none of that shit. It was not Hogwarts, believe me. It was hard, and I went in there a weak, vulnerable kid. I got bullied, I got battered, people were getting stabbed in the showers, all kinds of things was happening. But what that did was intensify my fight or flight, and instead of flying, guess what? I learned how to fight, and that turned me into a bit of a maniac. I'm alright today. I think I took my tablets this morning. I'm not even joking. Stood there at 6 o'clock with a breath and my tablets. But yeah, I wasn't offered GCSEs. So me stepping out into the big bad world, because it is a big bad world, they don't tell you that when you're in school. Me stepping out into the big bad world, vulnerable, scared, alone, I was easy pickings for the gangs. And again, like Dan said, that's where criminal exploitation came in. I was criminally exploited, caught up in county lines. And I'll be honest, I made a fortune selling drugs. I thought it was fucking great. Didn't have to work at Tesco's or Mackey's. Probably would have liked to have worked at Mackey's. But I didn't end up having to go down that road and do that. Instead, I was a drug dealer. Something I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of it at all. I caused carnage on the estate. I caused carnage in, you know, the society that I live in. I contributed to crime, I contributed to violence. I don't say that with pride. I'm proud to be in this room because now I get to tell that story with a positive spin on it. Now, because I was selling drugs, I ended up using drugs. And because of drugs, the mental health thing ended up with psychosis. I didn't realise you could go to mental health bingo, but I went to mental health bingo and got fucking full house, didn't I? You know, bipolar, complex PTSD. Like, you know, on paper, my missus says I'm nuttier than 10 tons of squirrel shit. So I must be. But I ended up with psychosis and a deep desire to die. And on my last suicide attempt, my missus saved me. 1st of January 2019, she found me hanging in the bedroom. And that was a dark, dark day for me, for all of us. But she was, between her and Dad, they were my biggest advocate for getting well, you know, biggest advocate. And then my missus, like, I hope she didn't see this video, but she's 5'2", she's like Yoda without a tash. And I didn't know that she could shout as loud as she shouted at the professionals, but my God, did she shout. And she got me where I needed to be, in front of a psychiatrist who was willing to listen to me, who was trauma informed, and who gave me the right help and the right medication and the right things that I needed to be able to understand who I am. Now, today, like I said earlier, I stand before you as me. I stand before you as a dad. I stand before you as a friend. I'm alive, I'm found, I'm not lost anymore. Although getting in London is but I'm free. I'm free from everything that happened to me as a kid. My abuser died in December. And when he left this earth, every bit of agony that I held, every bit of anger, it left with him. Because I won. Not that it was a game, not that it was a competition. I won. Now, like I said, when you stood up earlier and I asked you to say why, you stood up for every single child, past and present, that deserves to be heard. And that one question, why, is the biggest thing in the room that I want you to take away. The biggest thing of what we've said is what I want you to take it away, because if you're carrying that question to the next person you're dealing with, but that person might be the biggest offender you've ever met. It might be that they've never been asked why. We train the probation service in the Northwest, and one lady come back, oh man, I think it was called Sam, came back and sent an email to us saying, I've been to your session, I decided to take a trauma-informed approach with somebody I'm working with. This person had 300 plus offences, was violent towards staff, had to have a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to being seen. And she sat down with this person for 2 hours, which I know probably isn't permitted by management, but she sat with this person for 2 hours and he disclosed that he'd been raped and abused at the age of 12. Nobody had ever asked him why. Guess what? Door wide open, time to enter recovery. It's the simplest of things, you know? It is trauma-informed practice is something like Dan said we all learn at school. And it literally is, be kind, be fair, be understanding, be patient, but most importantly, just be human. We've all got job titles. Well, I ain't got a job title. I'm my own boss, thank God. I'd hate to have a boss, because I'd be swearing at him. But I often do that to myself anyway. But just be human. And if you can take anything away with you today, self-reflect on your own practice. It's not about saying you're rubbish at doing something, but just, is there anything you can do in your practice, in your job, to make your people, your clients, your service users, is there anything you can do to make the journey a little bit easier for them? Because it all comes down to building better relationships. And everybody in this room's got the power to do that. And on that note, I'll pass it back to Dan.
Is it still on?
You didn't turn it on?
What's it? We're just going to end on this quickly, right? Just remember one thing, you know, by being asked these questions, nobody ever smashed into a million pieces. The people who did smash into a million pieces, the people who aren't asked the questions. Yeah, don't think I'm opening a can of worms. You're opening a door to healing when you're asking these questions. And the thing is, people are getting paid to do a fucking job. Why the fuck are they not asking these questions? You know what I mean? That's what I say. You know what I mean? Might as well be working at Aldi. Sorry, mate. Might as well be working at Aldi. Innit? You know what I mean? Because you just, it's not, I'm not about using this room, but people are damaging people by not being brave and exercising professional curiosity. We're just going to end on a track by my cousin Carl Lloyd. He's also known as Manchester Hypes. It's one of the original people who brought grime to Manchester.
Does anyone know what grime is in here?
Yeah.
I'm not being stereotypical, honest.
So I'm just going to play this track, and it's all about what we've said to you today. But just one thing, just please know your power, and please use your power, because you can save lives, you can put your foot in that revolving door. You lot have got the power to do that, so do it, because that's what your job is. You know what I mean? Go on, mate.
Hit it. Thank you, guys.